Hello and welcome to a special episode of Red All Over. I'm Tom Webster, and today we are going to be talking about the club's finances. But because our owner believes that we as fans don't understand what is written on a balance sheet, I've asked football finance expert and good friend of the show, Liverpool University's Kieran Maguire, to break it down for us. Thanks for joining us, Kieran.
Thanks very much for the invite. It's always good to be back. As an away fan, a trip to Barnsley, it was always something I look forward to. So thanks very much. I appreciate the invite.
It's not a problem. Now, you guys may know Kieran from his many, many appearances on TalkSport and Sky Sports, and you're quite good friends with Gary on the overlap. But he does have his own podcast. It's Price of Football, and it's hosted by the very talented Kevin Day. So, is that a good enough plug for you there, Kieran?
That's very kind of you, Tom. Very kind indeed. Yes, yeah. Sharing a dressing room with Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, and Paul Scholes wasn't something that I ever thought was going to happen when I gave up. I used to have a job when I left uni. I had a job managing a sex shop, which I gave up to become a chartered accountant because I was too embarrassed to tell me mum what I was doing for a living. So to end up in this rather surreal space is very bizarre indeed.
Excellent. Right. Well, we'll get started. And now, if you could sort of break down our accounts this year and compare them to last, is there anything there that is there any red flags? Is there anything that sticks out in your mind?
Uh, yes, I would say there's a few squeaky bum issues in the sense that Barnsley are probably losing about 180 grand a week in terms of the day-to-day running of the club. Uh, Now we've got the accounts here for 23, 24. They sold some players and they made some decent profits, and they might have had some add-ons as well, which have come through, which certainly helped the club. But it doesn't look great. For every £100 that was coming through the door from ticket sales, from the TV deal, from your shirt sponsorship and merch and so on, they're spending 125 in wages, which isn't great. It's certainly not great at League One level, uh, but it's I think it's indicative of a division which has gone from being 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said that League One and League Two were very, very similar in the sense that most of the clubs tended to run at small losses, which were manageable as far as the owners were concerned. And on the back of that, yes, there were concerns because we've had Bury, we've had Macclesfield Town, we've currently got Morecambe. Oh no, it's no longer in the EFL, but they have been an EFL club for the past few seasons. There's been issues at Swindon and a few others, but nobody
Maybe just
seemed to
down the
be.
road from us, to
Oh
mention
yeah,
one.
yes, yeah, yeah. They're Championship, or are they League One? I mean, well, I think.
I think they'll be League One next year.
Well, I think you're not alone. I can't be seen to be saying that, but yeah, I think Sheffield
As
Wednesday
long as a
have gone.
podcast, I'm gonna stick knife in.
So I think that there are genuine concerns that clubs are losing money, but not horrendous amounts. And then what we have seen, I would say, in the past 2 to 3 years, is that the level of losses at some clubs have gone through the roof. And that's because it is possible to buy your way out of this division under the way that the EFL organises the rules. And you know from your own experience last year, you had the glamour boys in the shape of Birmingham and Wrexham. Stockport have got an owner who just wants to throw money at the club. There's been others in the past few years who have big fan bases, the likes of Derby and Pompey and so on. So all of a sudden, the level of losses in League One have gone up considerably, and that means is that if Barnsley want to be competitive, they've got to spend more money, and they were losing money already. Those losses have gone up. Player sales and add-ons from previous deals are sort of what's keeping things looking a little bit less horrendous than otherwise I'd be talking about.
So in that sense, then the owners have obviously put money into the club. In what form are they putting it into the club? So my understanding, it's shares. So that means that they can't actually take that money back out.
That's right, Tom. So in 22, 23, they put £6 million in the shape of shares. In 23, 24, they put just over 4 million in. That there have been some loan repayments as well, relatively small ones, but even so, it's the right direction. So for people unfamiliar, that there are two ways of putting money into a club. Uh, if you put money in the form of shares, the club never has to repay you. So the only way you're going to get a return is if you sell those shares to somebody else. So the club can receive money from giving shares to investors, but it never has to repay that. Um, the downside is you as fans, you've got absolutely no control as to who they're going to sell those shares to. And you're relying upon the owners being decent. You're reliant upon the EFL doing a good job in terms of preventing wrong-uns, as my gran would describe them,
Yeah.
from going into your club. And as you said, you don't have to go too far away from where you are in Barnsley. We've seen what's happened at Sheffield Wednesday. It's not been great at Sheffield United. Leeds, sort of 10 or 15 years ago, they were they were a pass the parcel in terms of dodgy owners. And as much as you want those clubs to not do well on the pitch, you've all got friends and relatives and colleagues and so on who support. You want you can't have a rivalry without rivals, is what I always say. So yeah, you want to see them get absolutely stuffed. You want to see their centre forward or their chairman get caught in the Sunday newspapers with a God knows what, a donkey, a vat full of custard and a load of cocaine or something like that. Yeah, that's the type of juicy stuff that we all enjoy. But you still want those football clubs to exist. And things have been quite precarious at some other clubs. So shares are always a danger. Um, if they go to the wrong people. The problem with loans is that loans have to be repaid um, most of the time. Sometimes the owners will just say, sod it, I'm going to write them off. And sometimes you'll see the owners charging interest on the loans. And I've seen some owners charge interest at 25, 30% a year, which is quite obscene.
So basically, it's either rely on owners or increase revenue. Um, so over the last 2 summers, the club's actually held boxing matches at Oakwell. How much would that actually generate? Is it worth doing or not?
It's worth doing in the sense that the alternative is to have another empty night. Football is one of the dumbest industries going. Because if I go down to my local grocery store, if I go down to my local electrical store, they're open 360 plus days a year. So they're bringing money in. And yes, they're paying the rent and the lecky and the insurance for that period. Look at a football club. It's open. You'll have 25, 30 days, 30 days if you have a good cup run. You're still paying out for 365 days worth of costs. So there there is an issue there. And just going back to sort of Barnsley's accounts in particular, for some reason they decided they were going to do 13 months worth of accounts instead of a full year. So when I talk about those losses, they would have been a wee bit lower had they just done 12 months worth of
Hmm.
accounts for 2024. So I think we need to say that the numbers aren't good, but they they won't. I don't think they'll be necessarily as bad in 2025. But yeah, you've got to look at all different ways of generating income. And if we look at Barnsley in particular, I think where the club does deserve credit is that the commercial income, and that'll be things such as boxing matches, it's really difficult to find more cash, to find more ways of coming to people to part with their hard earned because it's all tough. I mean, myself and Kevin, we did a live show at Rotherham, and we
Was
got.
that?
Oh, you're there? Okay, right, fair
Yeah,
enough.
yes, 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 yes.
Um, but so it pies, pints, yeah, it makes a few quid,
Yeah,
but I think if you got to innovate and to give Barnsley some credit, if we go back to say 2016-17 when the club was in the Championship, they were generating 1.8 million from those type of activities. You're now in League One, and it's gone up to 3.3. So they've nearly doubled the commercial income. You look at some of those events and you go, "Well, I'm not going to that," but it doesn't matter as long as somebody goes to them.
mm,
That's the important thing, and that even applies to other clubs. I'm a Brighton fan. They're a champ. They're a Premier League team. They have really bizarre things. They had Depeche Mode tribute band playing the other night. And I go, well, quite like Depeche Mode, but tribute band at a football stadium in one of the rooms. It seems a bit odd. But as they say, the alternative is to
it's
leave
not.
the room empty. And I think Barnsley have done well. And the fact that commercial income for the club is now the highest out of your three main income streams, which is ticket sales, TV, and commercial. I think the club deserves a bit of credit there.
Excellent. So I've often thought that to the space that there is round Oakwell is wasted. Um, would possibly like solar panels on a stand be a way of creating passive income, or even just sort of lowering costs of electricity and things like that? Would that be a possibility looking at the future?
I think all eventualities will be considered. The issue with solar panels, I think, is twofold. First of all, they are quite expensive to install, and the grants for them are going down. So there's that. And secondly, you're in Barnsley. There's no sun.
It's not Manchester.
That's
It's
true. That's true. I mean, I lived 40 years in Manchester, but I've been to Barnsley quite a few times. I can't remember. I mean, the first time I went was the League Cup game in 1981 when Barnsley beat Brighton 4-1.
well, born in '88, so it's well
Oh,
before
bloody
my
hell! Yeah.
time.
I really am showing my age now. You absolutely mullered us that night.
Right. Well, another source of income for us has been as academy. Um, we've got a category two academy, but it, is there any is there much point anymore with category one sort of being able to cherry pick and steal your players, or is it actually still worth it?
If you take a look at a Category 1 academy, realistically, it's going to cost you perhaps £4 to £5 million a year to run. Barnsley have got total revenues of 9 million. So uh, I think it is a really delicate thing. You've got to keep finding players to make it worthwhile. And I think, as you've hinted at, Tom, under the current rules, under the elite player performance plan, which was, in my view, forced upon the EFL clubs by the Premier League because they said, if you don't go along with this, we'll take away your solidarity payments. And for people who don't know what solidarity payments are, is that the Premier League gives some of its TV money to all of the clubs in the EFL. It means that Chelsea or Liverpool or Manchester United, if you've got a really promising 11-year-old, they can come and say, "Do you want to go and play for us?" And you can't induce them officially, but it's amazing what does tend to happen. I've known parents of really promising kids. All of a sudden, they've ended up with a job at the kit manufacturer of the club where they had just joined. Pure coincidence, of course. So there is a lot of tapping up that takes place, but none of it official. And you can't point fingers and you can't prove things because, as I know to my own cost, clubs have got big expensive lawyers these days. I think I've had three. to-dos with sets of lawyers this calendar year, and I'm just a teacher. I keep telling them, why are you having a go at me for?
Right. Well, I definitely don't want to get sued because we have not got we've
Well,
not got lawyers.
I'm broke. I'm broke.
Well, there's been a section of our fan base that's not really been happy with the level of investment. Every fan wants more,
Yeah.
basically. Um, so if they were to sell up, how much realistically do you think Barnsley is actually worth? Bearing in mind how much Chelsea's women's team went for.
Okay. Chelsea's women's team generates around about £11 million a year in revenue, and it was sold for 200. Uh, I've been involved with some deals to do with clubs in League One, shall we say.
Yeah.
The last one, I think we ended up at 1.8 times revenue. So if you look at Barnsley, revenue's 9 million, 1.8 times that, you're talking what, 16 million quid? So that's what the new owner would probably have to put in. You might be able to get that up to 20 on the back of you own the if you own the ground, if you've got some training facilities. It depends what you own.
Think our ground and training facilities are owned by the council, but we've got a really long lease,
Right.
and we pay rent, so it's probably looking
Yeah.
a bit less than that then.
Right. So on that basis, 16, 18, 20 million quid is probably the figures that you're looking at. If you get up to League One, you could probably increase that by 5 or 6 million. Um, the guy that owns Sheffield Wednesday, he was initially asking for 300 million quid, and it was pointed out to him that they don't even own their own stadium because he sold it to himself.
Yeah.
And then he sort of dropped the price, and the last thing I heard that he still thought he could get 100 million quid for it. But their North Stand is closed because of it's failed a safety certificate. All the decent players have left in the summer because he's not paid the wages. It's a shambles. So when I was talking to, am I allowed to swear?
I prefer not to. We are a
Okay,
family friendly show.
okay, right.
I
Well,
can always I can always bleep it out.
no, no, it's okay. It's okay, Tom. Well, from when we did the Rotherham live show, the first question was on a scale of 1 to 10, how are Sheffield Wednesday? To which our answer was 11, because of the mess that they're
Yeah.
in. And we were asked about a price, and I said, I'd done some valuations of Wednesday, and 40, 45. If you really pushed it, perhaps you might get to 50, but that was a couple, 4 months ago. I think they'll be lucky to get 30 to 35 today because whoever comes in is going to have to go and put in a new squad. And it's really really messy. So trying to work out a value for a football club is it's how long's a piece of string.
I know it's
It's a trophy
guesswork.
asset industry.
Yeah, I know it's sort of guesswork, but I just thought for our fans, just
Yeah.
as a bit of a guide. Well, I think that's pretty much it, Kieran. Thank you very, very much for joining us in your, I know, very busy schedule. So
I do 800 interviews a year now, which is
801 with this one.
now this is the big one. This is it. They've all been leading up to this one, Tom. We both know that. So
Yeah,
so yeah, well, thank you very much for inviting me back on. I really do appreciate it, and it's nice to talk to people who support a proper football club, whose whose love of the football club comes from the fact that you're from Barnsley. And I think too many people who support other football clubs do it for glamour. We don't. We do it for the misery as
yeah.
when you don't support one of the big boys. So it's always an honour to come on.
Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.